An alien woman appeared in my room, covered in someone else's blood. Human? Don't ask what I did to get here. Before we dive deeper into this story, tell us in the comments where you are watching from. I want to be precise about what I saw when I turned on the light. She was standing in the corner of my room between the wardrobe and the window, which meant she had been in my room long enough to find the corner that was furthest from the door, which meant she had made a decision about where to position herself before I woke up. She was Qulari, pale silver skin, large amber eyes, the bioluminescent quality that caught even low light and gave it back differently. She was tall. She was wearing field clothing that had been functional before something had happened to it and was now the evidence of what had happened. The evidence was dark and it was not hers. I knew this because she was standing without any indication of injury, with the specific controlled stillness of someone who was not hurt but who had recently been in a situation where being hurt was a very present possibility. She looked at me when the light came on. Her amber eyes were doing something that I had no immediate reference for. Not fear, not aggression, something that existed between those two things in the specific territory of someone who had made a series of very fast decisions under very difficult conditions and had arrived at my room as the outcome of those decisions and was now waiting to see what the outcome of the outcome would be. She said, in Terran standard that was quiet and precise and carried no wasted words, "Human. Don't ask what I did to get here." I looked at her for 2 full seconds. I looked at the window, which was closed. I looked at the door, which I had locked. I looked at the ventilation access in the ceiling, which was the only other entry point in my residential unit on Vethra Station's Ring 4, and which had been accessed recently by someone who knew what they were doing. I looked back at her. "Are you injured?" I said. "No," she said. "Is anyone following you here?" I said. A pause, brief but present. "Not yet," she said. "How much time do we have?" I said. Another pause, shorter. "I don't know," she said. "Less than I would like." I got out of bed. I went to the kitchen without another word. I put water on the mechanical heating element, not the electronic maker, the mechanical element, because something in the calculation of this situation told me that electronic systems were a liability right now and I did not want to be making decisions about what was a liability when I had not yet made the larger decision about what I was going to do. The mechanical element heated water the way mechanical elements always did, which was slowly and reliably and without a digital signature. I came back with a cloth and a basin of warm water and I set them on the low table near the window and I looked at her and I said, "Sit down." She sat down. Not because I had authority over her, I clearly did not, and the specific quality of someone who had come through a ventilation access covered in evidence of a situation they were not explaining was not the quality of someone who responded to nominal authority. She sat down because sitting down was useful in the current moment, and she appeared to be someone who made decisions based on what was useful. She cleaned her hands. She cleaned her forearms. She was methodical about it in the way of someone for whom the physical situation was a practical problem being addressed while the actual problem was being thought through on a separate level simultaneously. I watched her do this. I was thinking about the ventilation access and the locked door and the phrase "not yet" and what that implied about what was coming and when, and I was also thinking about the fact that I was making these calculations at all, which told me something about the decision I had already made before I consciously knew I had made it. "My name is Tal Soren," she said without looking up from the basin. "Kale Dren," I said. "Ring 4 infrastructure maintenance. I have been on this station for 3 years." "I know," she said. I looked at her. "You know my name and posting," I said. "I know your unit, your schedule, your shift rotation and which maintenance corridors you service," she said. "I have been building an exit route from Ring 4 for 6 weeks. Your unit's ventilation access connects to Maintenance Corridor 7, which connects to the external docking infrastructure on the station's outer ring. The exit route requires Ring 4 infrastructure access that a civilian cannot obtain without being noticed." She looked up from the basin. "I did not plan to involve you beyond using the access point. The situation changed 47 minutes ago." "What happened 47 minutes ago?" I said. She looked at me with those amber eyes that had come down from the between fear and aggression territory to something more direct and more complicated simultaneously. "The people I have been building the exit route to avoid found the route," she said. "Not this unit, the outer corridor segment. The unit was the only segment they did not know about because it is not in any official access record." She paused. I had 12 minutes to make a decision. "You came here?" I said. "I came here," she said. "I thought about infrastructure maintenance and ventilation access and 6 weeks of someone mapping a route through my unit without my knowledge and the specific decision that had been made 47 minutes ago that had ended with her in my room. I thought about the not yet and the less than I would like and the fact that she had said the outer corridor segment had been found, which meant that whatever was following her had resources and method enough to find a 6-week-old route that had been carefully constructed to be unfindable. Who are they? I said. She looked at me. A calculation was running behind those amber eyes, the specific calculation of how much to say, when, to someone who had not asked to be involved and was now involved. Dracry Compact Intelligence, she said. Station Division. 3 operatives. What do they want? I said. What I know, she said. Specifically, what I obtained from the Dracry Station Intelligence Archive 8 months ago and have been carrying since. She met my eyes directly. I am Quillari Intelligence Division. The information I obtained has significant implications for the Dracry Compact's covert operations in the outer corridor. They have been trying to recover it and eliminate the possibility of disclosure for 8 months. I have been 3 steps ahead of them until 47 minutes ago. I sat down. Not because I needed to sit down, because the situation required thinking that was better done sitting, and sitting was useful. I thought about what she had just told me, and I thought about the exit route she had described, and I thought about Maintenance Corridor 7 and the outer docking infrastructure, and I thought about 3 Dracry Compact Intelligence operatives who had found most of a 6-week-old carefully constructed route and who were, at this specific moment, somewhere on Ring 4 looking for the segment they had not found yet. The outer corridor segment is compromised, I said. What was the next phase of the exit route after the outer docking infrastructure? She looked at me. A shuttle in the secondary docking bay, she said. Registered under a cover identity. Sufficient to reach the Quillari diplomatic vessel currently holding position at the station's outer marker. The secondary docking bay connects to the outer docking infrastructure through Maintenance Corridor 12, I said. Not Corridor 7. Corridor 7 was the route they found. Corridor 12 was not part of your original route. No, she said. It was not. Because Corridor 12 requires a Ring 4 maintenance master key, I said. Which is not accessible through any civilian channel and is not documented in the station's public infrastructure records. She looked at me with the amber eyes that had shifted again. The calculation behind them had resolved into something that was asking a question without asking it, which was the most direct thing she had shown me since she said don't ask what I did to get here. I had a Ring 4 maintenance master key. It was in the locked service kit under my bed, where I kept it because station regulations required it to be secured at the resident's address when not in active use, and where it had been for 3 years of Ring 4 infrastructure maintenance. It opened every maintenance corridor on Ring 4, including Corridor 12. The shuttle in the secondary docking bay, I said. How long until the cover identity becomes a problem if it is not used? Approximately 6 hours, she said. The registration window closes at 0600. I looked at the time. It was 0137 hours. We have 4 hours and 23 minutes, I said. You said we, she said. Corridor 12 requires a master key and someone who knows how to navigate the maintenance access system without triggering the automated check-in protocol, I said. I know the system. I wrote the current check-in protocol bypass documentation for the Ring 4 Maintenance Division 2 years ago. She stared at me. You wrote the bypass documentation, she said. It was a safety requirement, I said. Emergency maintenance access cannot be subject to standard check-in delays. The bypass exists so that critical repairs can be done without triggering a station security alert during sensitive operations. I looked at the service kit under the bed. I know every maintenance corridor on this ring. I know which automated systems are active at 0137 hours and which are on low cycle. I know the fastest route from this unit to Corridor 12 to the outer docking infrastructure to the secondary docking bay that does not intersect with any location the Dracry operatives know about. 3 Dracry intelligence operatives, she said, are currently looking for the segment they didn't find, I said. In the section of Ring 4 connected to Corridor 7. Not Corridor 12. I stood up. I need 5 minutes to get dressed and get the kit. Tell me everything about the shuttle, registration name, bay number, access code. She told me. She told me with the precision of someone for whom precision was survival, and I listened with the precision of someone who had spent 3 years memorizing a station's infrastructure down to the check-in bypass documentation, and the information transferred between us in under 2 minutes, which was efficient. What followed was 41 minutes that I will describe accurately rather than dramatically, because the accuracy is more interesting than the drama would be. We moved through my unit's ventilation access, not Corridor 7 which she had used to get in and which the Dracry operatives were looking for, but the secondary access that connected to the maintenance sublevel below Ring 4, which was accessible only through the master key and which was not in any route she had built because she had not known it existed until I told her it existed. We moved through the sublevel with the portable work light I used for maintenance, which produced the amber glow of functional equipment and not the bright signature of personal lighting. We reached Corridor 12 through the sublevel access at 0203 hours. Corridor 12 was clear. I knew it would be. The Drackery operative's search pattern, based on what Tal had told me about their methodology, was radiating outward from Corridor 7, which meant Corridor 12 was behind their current perimeter rather than ahead of it. This was the kind of assessment that 3 years of Ring 4 infrastructure knowledge made possible and that 6 weeks of external route building had not produced, because you could not build infrastructure knowledge from the outside in the same time it took to acquire it from the inside. We reached the outer docking infrastructure at 0219 hours. The secondary docking bay was at 0231 hours. The shuttle in Bay 7 Alpha was where she said it was, under the registration name she said it was under, and the access code she had given me cleared it in 4 seconds. She stopped at the shuttle hatch. "Come with me," she said. I looked at her. "That is not what I planned," I said. "The Drackery operatives will find this route within the next 2 hours," she said. "When they do, the master key access record will identify which maintenance credential navigated Corridor 12 tonight. Your name will be on the record." I had not thought about this. This was a significant omission in my thinking, which was unusual for me, which told me something about what the last 41 minutes had done to my standard assessment process. "The Quillari diplomatic vessel," I said. "At the outer marker. Full diplomatic protection," she said. "Station jurisdiction does not extend to the outer marker. Whatever the Drackery operatives report about tonight, it does not follow you there." "And after the outer marker," I said. She looked at me with those amber eyes that had come from between fear and aggression all the way to something that I did not have a complete word for but that was genuine and direct and had been building in the amber since the basin of warm water and the sit-down and the we and the 5 minutes and the 41 minutes in between. "The Quillari Intelligence Division's debriefing process," she said, "takes approximately 3 weeks. After that, the information I recovered goes to the people who need it and the 8 months ends." She paused. "What happens after that depends on what both people involved want to happen." I looked at the shuttle. I looked at the access record that was going to have my maintenance credential on it in approximately 2 hours. I looked at the amber eyes that had been honest with me since the moment she said "Don't ask what I did to get here," which was the most honest kind of disclosure available. The disclosure of what cannot be said rather than the performance of what can. "I have a standard maintenance shift tomorrow at 0800, I said. "You are going to miss it," she said. "I have not missed a shift in 3 years, I said. "I know," she said. "I built an exit route through your unit because of it. Your reliability made your schedule predictable." She held my gaze. "I am sorry that what I needed to do required using something I respected about you as a mechanism." I thought about that for a moment. Then I got on the shuttle. She sealed the hatch. The shuttle cleared the secondary docking bay at 0247 hours. The Quillari diplomatic vessel at the outer marker received us at 0341 hours. The Drackery Compact Station Division filed an access violation report at 0428 hours, 2 hours after I had calculated they would find the route, citing maintenance credential 774, which was mine in connection with an unauthorized Corridor 12 transit. The report was filed with the station authority. The station authority forwarded it to the Diplomatic Liaison Office. The Diplomatic Liaison Office noted that the credential holder was currently under Quillari diplomatic protection at the outer marker and that jurisdiction was therefore external to station authority. The report was closed without action. The debriefing took 19 days rather than 3 weeks, because Tal Soren had spent 8 months being exactly as precise as she had been in my room and the information she had recovered was exactly as significant as she had indicated, and the Quillari Intelligence Division processed significant information efficiently. On the 20th day the 8 months ended, and the information went to the people who needed it, and a specific covert operation in the outer corridor that had been running for 4 years stopped running. On the 21st day she found me in the vessel's observation corridor, which had a viewport that looked out onto the outer marker star field, which was the kind of view that made Station Ring 4 feel like a very small and very specific thing that had been, nonetheless, exactly the right place to have spent 3 years. "The debriefing is complete," she said. "I know," I said. "They told me." "I told them about the Corridor 12 bypass," she said. "And the sublevel access. And the check-in bypass documentation." She paused. "They asked if I had recruited you. I told them I had not, that you had made a series of decisions independently based on what the situation required." "That is accurate," I said. They asked if you had asked what I did to get to your room, she said. I didn't, I said. I know, she said. I told them that too. She stood beside me at the viewport and looked at the star field with the same quality of attention she had given everything, which was complete and direct and not performed. What happens after this is not a requirement, she said. You are free to return to Ring 4. The diplomatic protection covers your return. The access violation report is closed. I know, I said. I am telling you because I want you to know the choice is actual, she said. Not manufactured by circumstance. I looked at the star field. I thought about maintenance corridors and ventilation access and 41 minutes in a basin of warm water and don't ask what I did to get here, which I had not asked, and what I had done instead of asking, which was everything else. What is the Quillari Intelligence Division's standard procedure after a debriefing of this significance? I said. Operational reassignment, she said. To whatever posting the intelligence suggests is most useful next. Where is the most useful next posting? I said. She looked at me. Currently the analysis suggests the outer corridor freight infrastructure, she said. Specifically the stations along the corridor's northern route. The Dracari Compact's remaining operations in the area use the freight infrastructure as a cover channel. Understanding the infrastructure from the inside would be, she paused, significantly useful. Ring 4 maintenance credentials transfer to outer corridor station infrastructure with a standard equivalency documentation, I said. I filed the equivalency documentation 18 months ago as a contingency. It is on record. She looked at me with those amber eyes that had come the entire length of a very long night from between fear and aggression to something that was, by this point in the conversation, entirely itself. You filed the equivalency documentation 18 months ago, she said. It seemed useful to have it available, I said. As a contingency, she said. Yes, I said. For what contingency specifically, she said. I looked at the star field. I have spent 3 years maintaining infrastructure on Ring 4, I said. It is good work and I am good at it. I have also spent 3 years thinking that the infrastructure I understood and the work I was good at probably connected to things that were larger than Ring 4 in ways that a maintenance credential on Ring 4 could not access. I looked at her. The equivalency documentation was the contingency for a situation that required moving from Ring 4 to somewhere the infrastructure connected to something larger. She was quiet for a moment. The star field was doing what star fields did, which was existing at a scale that made most other things feel proportionate and small and, in that proportioning, oddly clarifying. 18 months ago, she said. You filed it 18 months ago. Yes, I said. I started building the exit route 6 weeks ago, she said. I know, I said. The timing is not connected, she said. No, I said. It is not. She looked at the star field. I looked at the star field. The Quillari diplomatic vessel held its position at the outer marker, and somewhere on Ring 4 a maintenance shift was being covered by a colleague who had been told there was a personal emergency, which was accurate in the most precise sense of the word. The outer corridor northern route, she said. First posting would be Station Helix 7. Freight infrastructure. The station has a Ring-equivalent maintenance credential requirement. Covered by the equivalency documentation, I said. Yes, she said. When does the posting begin? I said. When the operative assigned to it arrives, she said. And the infrastructure specialist assigned to it? I said. She looked at me with those amber eyes one more time, the final form of the look that had started in the corner of my room between the wardrobe and the window at whatever hour it had been when the light came on, and had changed every time something changed, and was now the look of someone who had said don't ask what I did to get here and had then, over the course of a very long series of consequential decisions, told me everything. Simultaneously, preferably, she said. The operation requires coordination from the first day. Then we should leave soon, I said. Station Helix 7 is approximately 14 hours from the outer marker. Yes, she said. It is. We left the observation corridor. The starfield continued doing what starfields did, which was existing at a scale that put things in proportion, and what it put in proportion from 14 hours away, was the specific shape of a series of decisions made by two people who had both been building toward something larger than where they were, from different directions, until a ventilation access and a basin of warm water and 41 minutes in the dark had made the directions the same direction. The operative and the infrastructure specialist arrived at Station Helix 7 simultaneously. The operation coordinated from the first day. The Dracari Compact's outer corridor operations took 11 months to fully document and dismantle, by which point the infrastructure specialist had sufficient outer corridor knowledge to make the Ring 4 equivalency documentation look like the most useful contingency filing in the station registry's recent history. He never asked what she did to get to his room. He didn't need to. He understood by the end exactly what it had taken, and exactly what it had been worth.